Hi guys, Sarah here and welcome to Novel Expectations. Today I'm coming to you with the Gilmore Girls book tag. Now, let me begin this by saying, I only a month ago started watching the Gilmore Girls. I know, what rock have I been living under? But growing up, my mother watched it. For some reason, I just had no interest. I don't know what it was. Maybe because my mother liked it, like when you're a teenager being that whole like, well, if my mother likes it, I don't want to watch it. And then I started to see things pop up on my Facebook feed about it coming back. And I'm like, I wonder what all this is about. So I watched that little trailer that they did, which was hysterical. And I'm like, I called my mom and I said, was the show actually this funny? And my mom's like, absolutely. So I went on Netflix. I'm like, I'm going to watch one episode and see what I think about it. 5 episodes later, I'm like, I am already totally addicted to this show and I'm in love with it. Now, I'm only into season 2, but I'm so thrilled with the show and I absolutely love it, and I've seen this tag pop up a couple times lately. I'm pretty sure this is an older tag, but I think now with the resurrection, if you will, of the show that more people are doing it, so I decided to jump on the bandwagon. So, the original tag was done by Pucks and Paperbacks, and I will link the original video in the down bar below, along with all the questions. So, I'm not going to tag anybody in this because it's been around for a while, I don't know who's done it. But if you haven't done it and you want to do it, please go ahead and actually post in the comments below if you do the tag so I can come and watch yours. So it pretty much just lists the characters and something, you know, about them. Anyway, Lorelei. First question, Lorelei. A character with a witty or sarcastic sense of humor. Because I plan on listening to Let's Pretend This Never Happened this week, this person has been on my mind, and she's not a character. She's a real-life human being, and that is Jenny Lawson, author of Let's Pretend This Never Happened and Furiously Happy. I think she really does have a very witty, sarcastic sense of humor, and I think she's great, and I'm thoroughly looking forward to listening to that audiobook this week. Next question, Rory. Your favorite classic? I don't generally read a lot of classics, so I actually kind of had a hard time thinking about this one. But I decided to go with Winnie the Pooh by A.A. Milne. It's a Canadian story in a way. Winnie the Pooh is named after the city of Winnipeg, for those of you who don't know. Google search it. It's actually a very interesting story. But I love Winnie the Pooh. Ever since I was a little kid, I don't remember not being in love with Winnie the Pooh and Tigger and Roo and Kanga and Christopher Robin. I mean, it goes right back to my childhood. That's the epitome of my childhood, is Winnie the Pooh. Next question, Luke, whom I love in the show. Please don't tell me it's going to take her seasons to get with him because that's just going to be depressing. So Luke, a book you secretly love but are afraid to admit. This is a book I read earlier this year, or late last year, and it was an independently published book. It wasn't the best written book, but I really did enjoy it, and it was The Witches of Bourbon Street by Dina Chase. It was the first in the series. I do plan on reading the rest of the series. It was campy, it was silly, it was fun. It was that great palate cleanser read if you've been reading like some pretty heavy-duty books, and I really did enjoy it. Lane, a musical character. This sequel is coming out this month, I think, and I already have it on pre-order. But the character is actually, her name is Adele, and it is from The Darling Songbirds by Rachel Herron. I read this book earlier this year and gave a 5-star review. It's about 3 sisters who had a country music singing group, and after their parents passed away, the group kind of fell apart. The sisters stopped talking and all this stuff. And then Adele, the oldest, ends up coming back to their kind of hometown and reopening the bar. It's a really fantastic book. Like I said, the sequel comes out this month. I'm so looking forward to it. I believe it's going to be a trilogy, so the second book comes out this month. So I'm really looking forward to that. Next question, Dean, your first book love. I'm going with my first adult book love, and that sounds a lot dirtier than I actually mean it to be, but my first book into adult fiction that I fell in love with, and I've talked about these books ad nauseum, I'm sure, and that's The Cat Who Wasn't There by Lillian Jackson Braun. Love this book still. Love this series still. I do plan on rereading it eventually, the whole thing. Next question, Sookie. And I had no idea Melissa McCarthy was in the show, and I adore her. I loved her on Mike and Molly. I'm just so thrilled that she's so perfect. I love her. Anyway, Sookie, a book that you devoured. Outlander by Diana Gabaldon. I couldn't get enough of that book, and I'm loving the series, and I think in the spring I'm going to go ahead and start listening to Voyager. I find it is a series though that you need to take in chunks. It's not a book, it's not a series that you could sit down and marathon. Now, I do know a few people who have, and I can't. With any series, I need breaks in between the books to kind of, you know, reappreciate the characters and what have you, but Outlander, and I recommend it to everybody. It is fantastic. Next question, Jess, a book you love, but that gets the most hate. I think this is a character I have not met yet. And book I love that gets the most hate, and I have to not give it to just one book, but to like a whole bunch of books, and that would be Harlequin, any of the Harlequin category romance. A lot of people turn their noses up at them, that they're just like cheap dime store novels. Some of them are not so great, but that's with any book. I don't care. It could be a literary fiction bestseller published by HarperCollins that is no good. You know, like, it doesn't just have to be these cheap little dime store novels, if you will, that aren't that great. But there are a lot of them that are fantastic. And if you like contemporary romance or anything like that, these books are so fantastic. I mean, give them a shot. It's not going to hurt anything, right? Next question, Miss Patty. I love Miss Patty. A book that was ruined by the hype. Originally, I was going to say Gone Girl, and I have a feeling a lot of people said Gone Girl to this question. But to be honest, I read Gone Girl when it first came out. It had only been out for a few weeks, and I had a coworker literally hand it to me and go, read this. And I said, well, what's it about? She goes, just read it. So I read it blind, and it was fantastic. But the book that was ruined for me was The Good Girl by Mary Kubaka. Everybody kept going on about the twist, the twist, the twist, the twist. I saw it coming 18 miles away. And I think if people hadn't been talking about that and saying that there was a twist and that there was going to be this or whatever, I would have been pleasantly surprised, or at least even a little bit surprised. I wasn't at all. It was still a really good book, don't get me wrong, but it was kind of, that whole twist aspect of it was ruined for me, unfortunately. Next question, Emily Gilmore. Your most expensive book. I had to think about this one. And eventually, I mean, I had to think about this one for like a couple days, like trying to go through my collection in my head. What book is the most expensive book that I own? Because generally I buy most of my books used. But then it finally hit me. My e-reader. This thing contains 500 books. And it's all within one little book. Well, sort of. It's an e-reader. So yes, this is my most expensive because it holds everything that I own. Every book that I have in either ebook format or audiobook format is on this device. So most expensive, right here. It's not an e-reader, it is my Samsung tablet. I actually just ordered the new Kindle, like the cheapest one that they have, the one that's below the Paperwhite. And I'll explain more about that in the next few weeks when I do a book haul, because I'm going to talk about that when I do my book haul. And by then I will have had it for a few weeks, so I can give you guys a little bit of a recommendation. But for now, I do use my Samsung Galaxy tablet, which is like totally like, sorry, try not to make you guys sick. But yes, most expensive right here. And the last question, Paris, an uptight character. This one was also a hard one for me to think about. And eventually I decided to go with Honor, who is Faith's sister in the book The Best Man by Kristen Higgins. I love this whole series, and Honor actually gets her own book in the second. The Perfect Match is Honor's book. But in this first book, she's very, very uptight. She's all about work. She's all about, you know, being the matriarch to the family kind of thing. And, you know, she's a great character, and she really comes into her own in her book. But in that book, I remember reading her and thinking, oh, I really don't like her. She really rubs me the wrong way. And then when the second book in the series came out, and it was her book, I was like, oh, I don't even know if I want to read this, because I didn't particularly like her. Redeemed herself within the first paragraph, and I absolutely adore her. She is now one of my favorite characters, her and Tom, who is the love interest in The Perfect Match. They are amazing together. I love them. They are probably one of my favorite book couples. So anyway, guys, that's it for this tag. I do hope you enjoyed it. Like I said at the beginning, if you haven't done this and you want to do it, consider yourself tagged. And please post in the comments below a link to your video if you do it, or if you've already done it. I'd still love to see it. So anyway, guys, until my next video, take care and happy reading. Bye.